Oh my God!
Look, you didn't know I was coming.
Like, part of the city right now, like, just like moving into my life, you know, like, it's like, I know
We're in Jackson. Yeah, he does. Just less hair. It's really shaved. Still married to Liz. Just talking
So while things are sort of, I decided I'm going to have my camera side taken this morning.
Great, okay, that's great. Awesome, thank you for being here, really appreciate Okay, great, good. We can share the slides that actually put together from some other pictures. So, and maybe.
In a few moments, we will be showing a short film by Seth Bachman of Max Performances. Afterwards, we will open up to sharing. That's it? In 10 minutes or so, and then I'll be back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Hold on, I'll be back.
I can't sit with you.
Do a little video of that's on YouTube or whatever that's from one of Mac's performances.
I am here, and we are one. We will explore and go beyond. Nothing is unknown to us. There are no secrets. We will go in circles over and over again. Sometimes I come too fast. And when there was life, is no more. But you are forgiven. And I can say, you are my burden of prayer. And I can't live without you. I need you. I have to have you. I want you. I want you. I want you.
Hi, so now we're going to begin the speaking part of the program. I am going to ask that, since there's so many people here, that you try to keep your shares down to 4 minutes. I'll be sitting over there. If I start to get up, then you know I'm coming over to get you all. Okay? This rule does not extend to immediate family. They can talk as long as they want. Okay? So just have a nice line over here, and we can begin. Whoever wants to speak.
Hello, everybody. It's so great to see everybody here. So many people I haven't seen for a long time. You know, it's a sad occasion. It's good to see everyone coming together, and my heart goes out to his family. I'm going to read a piece that I wrote. Barbara, I'm not sure if I can get this out. I'll give it 4 minutes, but okay. In September 2025, I was absolutely gutted to hear that my dear friend, comrade, and legendary artist Matt McGill had passed away. Born on May 5th, 1958, and a native New Yorker, I met Mac in the early 90s when he arrived in the Lower East Side and moved into a spot called Umbrella House on Avenue C. I've known him for so long that I feel like we sort of grew up together in many ways. Both of us part of the World War III Illustrator Collective, a radical political arts magazine, if anyone here doesn't know. Both of us lived in neighborhood spots in the late 80s and 90s, devoting much of our time rebuilding the crumbling tenement shells. In 2002, we were able to unite with 11 other squatted buildings, working with an organization called UHAP to convert from squat status to legal low-income co-ops. It was an incredible victory, which we fought for long and hard, but had doubts we would ever see that day. It was a real triumph for our community. Those were some wild and unstable days, but hanging with Mac was always calm and grounding. I used to never sleep, and I would often run into him in the very early morning as he was returning from graveyard shift at a youth center, coming through Tompkins. We would hang out sometimes talking about art and life and survival and what was happening in the hood or in the world, fucked up things, beautiful things. He put all of his heart and soul into his art, giving it a life of its own. The way he drew in the hypnotic, pointillistic style was very meticulous and time-consuming, but the result was transcendent. He drew stories of the buildings, bringing them to life. All of his stories and illustrations intertwined the souls of humanity within the forces of nature, as well as inanimate structures that make up our world. Putting that calmness, beauty, and positivity out into the world, starving for empathy and peace. Mac was one of the subjects of my long-running Peeps project, which is portraits and stories of people. Many of you have had the experience. So, I did 2 sessions with him, 2001 and 2008, in which he told me stories about his life. So I would like to let Mac now speak to you directly about growing up, finding his purpose and his peace. So this is Mac speaking now. Okay, I'll tell you the story of Mac. Why not? It starts out in South Jamaica, near the famous 40 projects. I did my first freelance art job when I was 16 years old. I got paid to paint the backs of the jackets for a gang called 7 Crowns. The design was a crown with leaves at the bottom and snakes on the side. It came to be my first assignment, so I wouldn't get beat up. I did it to get a good rapport with these guys and their associates. I was scared as hell living in that neighborhood. I got paid $50, which was a lot of money back in the early 70s, you know. The subway was only a quarter back then. I met some good people hanging out in that neighborhood, even though it was scary. Every day was another adventure. At the same time, I was doing underground comics. Soon after that, we moved to Baltimore for a few years. I was doing, I'm sorry, I'm losing my place. So soon after that job, we moved to Baltimore for a few years. I was in high school at an all-black school called Frederick Douglass High School. It was a good time to get out of New York. It was a trip that everyone was black at that school. It was cool. We were there for 2 years, and it was like a fantasy land. I finished high school in New York City, back in Jackson Heights. Then I went to the School of Visual Arts. I got a job at a disco as a busboy. My boss also ran a disco magazine, so I started doing cartoons for it. I was making enough to get my own place in Queens. There was a lot of partying at the Disco magazine. Then I went into the Air Force and lived in Italy for 4 years. I drew comics for the base paper, smoked lots of hash, and hung out with some great artists. I came back to New York City in 1983 and started to get serious about art. In the mid-'80s, I was working for the Guardian Radical News Weekly as a production assistant. The offices were on 17th Street, but we would go for drinks at Mona's on 13th and B with a good friend of mine, Masked, who lived in a squat on 6th Street. Another friend of mine lived there too, and at the time, I was briefly on my own, sleeping on my brother's couch in Long Island City, and also crashing at 6th Street squat a lot. I was already friends with Seth Tabachman, co-founder of World War III magazine. Seth told me about a space that was available at Umbrella House. I had already stayed with Seth for a while in a little room with a big pile of rubble. I would spend my time sitting in there and drawing as well as working on the building. So people knew me when I applied to get a space. I had worked my ass off doing a lot of work days, so I got voted in as a member. Seth had asked me to contribute some illustration to World War III, but I didn't really submit anything until around 1989. I had been too busy doing production work and drawings for the Guardian Radical News Weekly and doing other freelance jobs. My first piece for World War III was called Cracked, about a woman I knew who had killed herself. At the same time, I was doing cartoons and illustrations every week for the Amsterdam News on black issues for $35 a week. I wasn't just doing it for the money, like big money, $35 a week. I have always been a painter too, but I don't usually show those pieces. 8 months after Katrina, I went to the lower 9th Ward in New Orleans to help gut buildings. That's when I was inspired to work on a New Orleans storm story. The debris was terrible. I met a woman whose house we were cleaning out, and she was crying a lot. Then I knew I had to tell the story. So hopefully that story song for Katrina will get published at some point. It was supposed to be published, I think in 2020 by this French publisher, but I think it didn't happen maybe because of the pandemic, I'm not sure, but it's absolutely beautiful piece from what I saw of it. It really has to be out there in the world. Mac's beautiful and haunting piece, Song of Katrina, was, here I am, I already said this, was slated to be published in 2020 by France's Edition CMDE, but seems it did not happen. The story focuses on the disaster and its aftermath through Mac's personal connections and involvement. Drawn in his distinctive pointillistic style, it features themes of resilience and community amidst devastation. Mac was one of the sweetest and most steadfast of friends I have ever known. His art is beautiful and so soulful. His dedication was epic. I can feel him now traveling through the swirling inkscapes that radiated from his limitless imagination. I am blessed to have had such a good friend, comrade, and inspiration.
Mic is open, I'm not gonna worry about time, obviously.
I'm stepping up here, I think, a bit on behalf of Seth Tabachman, because he was, has a cold and can't be here. To say, I'm involved with World War III as well, and we were so incredibly fortunate to have Mac. Peter Cooper. We were so incredibly fortunate to have him so consistently contribute to the magazine, and every time that he did, it was a joy to have that work come in, and it was, you know, it was part of what made the magazine the kind of community that we had, and still do. In fact, we have a piece by him that hasn't been published. It's going to be in the very next issue, happily. I crossed paths with Mac over the years, and every time I did, it kind of like, he sort of brought a peace with him, or just being around him made you feel relaxed and happy and and calm. And I'm gonna miss him, and I wish him well on his travels.
I'm Peter as well. Spagnola. Got that, Barbs?
Got it.
Okay. I'm gonna read a poem that I wrote 30 years ago. Originally, when it was published, it was dedicated to English Steve. But we're gonna repurpose the poem now for Mac. Tips for young squatters. Friends, stay awake. This is no game. And the sheriff always comes at dawn. Know you that people who work for a living are not suckers to be met with contempt. They are your historical allies, even when they hate you. If you wait until Halloween to put in those new windows, it will surely be a cold Christmas Eve. Always get the right tool for the job. Smashing rent slavery is hard enough without driving nails with a book. A goose-down sleeping bag beats 2 blankets and 3 skinny mutts on a cold Loisaida night. In times of darkness, remember too that Con Edison will one day cease to exist. Know which side your brick is buttered on, and sleep naked. Your clothes will smell better. Return borrowed tools promptly. Freedom depends on good manners. Measure twice. Cut once. When needed, the ubiquitous blue wooden police barriers make fine lumber for many uses around the home. Drinking beer for breakfast is counter-revolutionary. Theory is fine, but Guy Debord won't teach you how to hang sheetrock. Always put on a good show for the suckers in TV land. You are acting a dream long stifled in their hearts. And do not panic before the guns and the paddy wagons. Oppose them with sly comedies. And I say you can win even when you lose. The losing still hurts. Lastly, friends, keep a cheery song on your lips, a mask on your face, and a half brick in your hand. Play for keeps. Thank you.
Anyway, my name's Clayton. I knew Matt from, I showed his work a couple of times, but I knew him from a much different place than Squatters. My part of the neighborhood is between Houston and Delancey, and it was a really serious drug neighborhood, and very dangerous, and a lot of dangerous people. But they're neighborhood people, so if you knew them, everything was fine. And there was this center over there where they had after-school programs where people taught and hung out and did things like that. And really, one of the ways out of the inner city is through art. And art is what got a lot of people out. It's what got me out. And I've photographed in front of my door over there for 40 years. And in the area where I am, I saw a lot of those kids grow up from, some of them from 5 years old up until now, some of them with grandkids. And the numbers of years that have gone over there, with a lot of people getting 20 years, 30 years, is a drug neighborhood. One interesting thing about photographing in front of the door is photographing those kids over a long period of time and knowing a lot of people in the neighborhood. And when I go through those kids and look at the pictures now, like I say, a lot of them are adults. A lot of them got like 20 years. And recently one guy just got out after 20 years and was out for about a year, and now he's back. But when I look at those pictures and see the numbers of kids that got caught up in the drug world, which was lots, because that was a business down there, and it wasn't really as crazy as people think because it was a business in the neighborhood. But I also know a lot of white people that were in the neighborhood, a lot of them did a lot of drugs. Like Richard Hamilton, drop dead junk, just out there. But none of those guys ever went to jail. And when I look at the kids in the neighborhood, lots of them went to jail. And you can just see the difference in how racism works and how drugs work and how some people get away and other people don't. But the point is that I'm getting to is Mac taught at that place over there. There's a social center over there. And that's a real gift. And that's a gift of giving, because you're giving creativity and you're giving people a way out. You're giving them something to do and something that they can do at home, alone, or whatever. And so that really changes lives. And so I think it's really important, and what he did is important. And the other thing is, like once you started getting to Bloomberg and Giuliani and those people, they started taking art and music out of schools. And the reality is, like let's just take an example of 100 black people, up to, let's say, 1988, and say, give me 100 geniuses. I mean, that'd be really easy to do, Michael Jackson, the end is endless. Most of them grew up in some sort of troubled situation, and it was entertainment, art, music, performance that got them out. And like I say, a lot of them turned into geniuses and went and changed the whole world. But the list is endless. And so Max, in contributing, he probably saved some lives and gave some kids a gift of creativity. And that gift can't really be overlooked. And that's a big deal. And so for that, and Max, I salute him. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Carlo Quispe. I'm a Peruvian cartoonist, and I also work with Mac in the comic book World War III Illustrated. And I just wanted to say hello to everybody, and especially the family of Mac, who I really mostly knew the colleagues from World War III. And I just want to say how much I respected Mac, and not only as a human being, as a person, but when I saw his artwork, I just thought, it was one of the most important, contributions that were made to World War III. Mac's artwork, if you take a look at the history of the era of Mac in World War III, I think is really the strongest. And if you just compare the tone that he had with some of the other styles that were in the comic, you'd see how he was able to balance our energy to make it like a more readable and readable friendly publication, because he understood more than anything, he understood how people felt when they read his work. He understood how you would feel when you would look at the artwork. And so when he would make a piece for the magazine, it would be in it was placed in a moment in the book where you would need to hear his voice and his wisdom to then continue on with the publication and to get to the next story. You would have a kind of moment where you could be, be held. When in the subway station they say that the conductor is holding the train, right? It's like suddenly like Mac was holding you when he was showing you his artwork. That's just a feeling, and I'm trying to explain, but it's really hard to explain because a lot of his comics also were wordless. They were comics that had no words in them. They would like, each page was a frame in a way of the comic. And so that's also another special gift that he had for communicating in a way that was beyond intellect. Thank you so much for everybody being here. I hope we can all share our stories of Mac.
Hi there, my name's Steve, and I'm friends with Kathy and Mac and his kids. We've been friends for a long time. They moved into Umbrella House. When did you move in? 97? 96? 93, Jesus Christ. I was living at Umbrella House. And so we had some kids were moving in, and there wasn't a lot of kids in the squat back then. There was, so I go, okay, they can play with our kids, and they're still friends to this day. The kids are the same age, actually, the grandkids. But we went on vacation together. There was a bunch of years where we go on holiday. And getting Mac to go on holiday is really difficult. Like, he did not want to leave the city. He didn't want to leave. And his kids were like, yeah, because we go to, well, we went up for a few years to Bread and Puppet. We go up there camping, and Mac, it was like putting clothes on a dog or something. He just fish out of water. But once we got him up there, he was great. He really liked it. And then one year we got to look after a house on the vineyard, of Martha's Vineyard, for a month. And Mac and Kathy came up, no kids, just those two, and stayed for a few weeks. And every day Mac wanted, what did he want? There was sandwich. Not oysters, lobster. Fucking hell, we had to drive every day to the town so we could get a sandwich. And it was okay because it was somebody else. Not everybody, but a lot of people, that would make you really unhappy. Like this ritual at 12 o'clock driving to get, but with Mac it was just okay, you know, all right, you know. We'll go and get your daily lobster. And my son Robin and Marty and Tommy, they all went to the same school together, which was great, you know, because we were all living in squats, and I think that was a little bit of solidarity for them, you know, all going. And now my son has 2 children, and Tommy has 2 children, and they're the same age. So it's a beautiful connection, and I love those years going on vacation with you guys, because it was kind of outside of squatting. It was like a whole different thing. We were normal. Thanks very much. Love you.
I'm Steve Wishnia, and I don't really have anything prepared. I'm just I got some random memories. First, I met Mac when I was working at the Guardian News Weekly, along with some other people in the room here. And he was production assistant and illustrator, and he was just an amazingly talented artist. You know, you could give him an idea and he'd come up with an illustration for it in about 2 hours. But we all got to be friends. Me and him particularly, because we had kids the same age. And then when they moved to the East Village, my son and Tommy and Robin, and it was Steve's son Robin, all got to be friends. So the trip to Bread and Puppet that I remember, It was, I think, 1995, so they were like 12 to 15. They were all the same age. And we were staying in this friend who's about 5 miles out of town, and me and Steve had to go, and Pete Spagnuolo had to go back into town to pick up our amplifiers because we played the night before. And we're driving off in the van, and the kids are all running along the van, and they're with their skateboards, banging on the sides and trying to hang on the side. And we thought they were just annoying us. They're just like bothering us. So we go into the venue. This place that was kind of like, you can imagine like a country ABC No Rio. And we get there, we're moving stuff, and about, 15 minutes, half hour later, all the kids show up. They're like, we were trying to get in the, tell you we wanted a ride. So, it's just, I guess one of the first times I remember hanging out with Mac was probably like 1993. We were drinking in Mona's bar, and he was teaching art after school then, and he just, went off on this long spiel about how much he hated it when the kids he was teaching called each other by a certain word. He was like, how can they call each other that? You know how much hatred is wrapped up in that word? Mac was a mensch. He was a good person, really solid family man, loved his family. I can't say it how many times, what a great artist he was. He drew like Jimi Hendrix played guitar. I could look at a piece like The Building and feel, the despair of the building being abandoned. He personified Lower East Side buildings in those drawings. In, the song for Katrina, you can feel the winds gathering and spinning around as the storm begins. Just another story is, Mac was very hard to get out of the house. We used to joke that if we wanted him to come out, you'd have to put an M80 under his drawing chair because he just wanted to sit and draw all night. An ideal Saturday night for Mac was sitting at home with, a rapidograph, pad of paper, some good soul music on the radio, a bag of ganja, and you'd just go all night. But I guess it was about maybe 2004. We went to Guatemala, Mac and Kathy, Arun and his girlfriend, and me, and Mac, the town we were in, people said it's a boring town. The only two things there are a museum of coffee and a museum of instruments, two of my favorite things. So we went to the Museum of Musical Instruments, and at that point, Mac liked his ganja, and we hadn't had any in about 5 days. So when the guide there is demonstrating the marimba, which is the national instrument of Guatemala rather, she plays La Cucaracha, and it was like the most poignant version of La Cucaracha that I've ever heard. Porque no tiene, porque le falta. So we're on our way back to the apartment, and we're walking single file because the sidewalk's really narrow, and these three guys come up to us, and Mac was last in line, goes, "Oye, Bob Marley, you smoke grass?" And Mac taps me on the shoulder, "Hey, Steve, can I borrow 15 quetzales? It's about $2. And then he disappears, and Kathy says to me, "Did he just go off with those guys?" And I say, "Yeah." And Mac's like, "I'm gonna kill him if they don't kill him first." So he went off, came back about 15 minutes later. He said he was scared, a little scared. They had to go to a pretty seedy neighborhood, but he came back with a bargain the last rest of the time we were there. And we also did this thing of doing live music with his comics, which was kind of like we invented a new art form. Mac really loved music and respected it. He used to say, "I wish I could play music like you." I said, "But you can draw amazingly." And I don't know much more to say. My condolences to Kathy and the whole family, Lynette, Marty, Tommy, Willie, etc. He was my friend and I miss him. I want to hear the phone ring and say, hey, yo, Steve-O, over on the west side. Thank you.